Let's take a look at this article that was put up on the Wall Street Journal article. Maybe it's more of an op-ed by former Attorney General William P. Barr, put up on May 27, 2024. Big Tech's budding AI monopoly.
Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs!
Microsoft and its peers have a long-standing strategy to thwart competitive upstarts. Look at this picture. Yeah, you just got Big Tech. Got Big Tech. You got the Monopoly Man in train form. Wonder if that's which railroad that is. Is that the Reading Railroad? Is that the B&O Railroad? The Pennsylvania Railroad? You notice we got only 3 companies, I guess. These are the only 3 big tech companies in artificial intelligence. It's Google, Microsoft, and Amazon. Those are the only 3, apparently. At least that's the impression you might get if you read the wise words of William P. Barr. Microsoft, Google, and Amazon are remarkably successful companies, and their ability to suppress competition in their primary and adjacent markets is unparalleled. These tech giants are now attempting to control artificial intelligence technology. Now, right off the bat, what's missing here? We got Microsoft, Google, and Amazon, as if these are, the only 3 big tech companies. Not only that, they're the only 3 tech companies invested in artificial intelligence technology. Anyone missing here? Any elephants in the room not mentioned here by William P. Barr? Maybe a company like Meta, formerly known as Facebook. I mean, just a simple look at a CNBC headline from last month by Ashley Kaput. This article talks about how Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg unnerved investors on the company's quarterly earnings call by focusing on its long-term investments in artificial intelligence. But it's not just Facebook and Meta that are missing. We also have Apple. Isn't this another big tech company? I believe the FTC, under the leadership of Lina Khan, is currently trying to shake down Apple for being a big, scary monopoly. Even this article, put up November of 2023, mentions how Apple has acquired dozens of AI startups in recent years. So it sounds like Apple is also invested in artificial intelligence. So even just these 3 alone, that would not constitute a monopoly, which is understood or should be understood as one company, one entity controlling 100% of a market. Not sure that would qualify as a monopoly, but I guess this is just the new way of framing things as a monopoly, right? When you can just use words like big tech, you can just lump a bunch of different companies in there just as one entity and just call it big tech and say, see? Big tech, they're just one big entity, I guess, these days. Putting aside the fact that these companies, not to mention Meta and Apple, are all in competition with one another. I know he mentions adjacent markets. Yeah, a lot of these companies are also in competition in other markets with other large companies, notably Amazon with Walmart's, and now they're getting more invested in entertainment. Same thing with Google. I mean, right now I'm streaming on Twitch. Twitch is in competition with Google's YouTube. Apple and Microsoft have been in competition with one another for decades over computing. Personal computers, tablets. Google's also in tablets. Amazon's also in tablets. So 5 companies. Well, only 3 mentioned. Conveniently leaving out 2 other big tech companies, Apple and Facebook. So 5 companies, I guess, is a monopoly these days.
That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, dude.
And then this second sentence. These tech giants are now attempting to control artificial intelligence technology. As if artificial intelligence is just this, one thing. Like it's Excalibur, the magical sword, or some shit. Or like it's Thor's hammer or something. Like you got some heroes and villains, maybe some anti-heroes all trying to get this one thing. He's like talking about artificial intelligence in that sense, as if it can't manifest in different ways, as if there are different ways to create artificial intelligence. He talks about it as if it's just, again, Excalibur the sword There's only one magical sword, and these companies are trying to fight for control over it. If allowed to dominate AI, they could reinforce and extend their supremacy over more of the economy.
Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs!
It is imperative that competition authorities carefully monitor and, where necessary, police the investments and partnerships that big tech. See, here we go. It's even if you have a market where you have 5 or more companies, not to mention, I forgot to mention Elon Musk, Twitter. I believe they're also involved with artificial intelligence. I'm sure there are many other startups. I'm sure there are some other companies in the tech space that are invested in artificial intelligence or in one form or another. But, if you can just lump them all into one box, big tech, then you can easily swindle people into thinking that it's a monopoly, even though there are multiple companies involved. Big tech is using to tighten its grip over artificial intelligence. Big tech, see, right here, he just goes from talking about 3 companies, again, leaving out 2 other giants like Facebook and Apple. Just goes from that to just talking about big tech as if they're all one entity. See how much of a weasel this William Barr guy is? It's incredible that anyone gave this guy significant political power. Big tech's playbook for expanding its dominance is familiar. Once these platforms establish a monopoly, so we got plural, then we get into the singular. These platforms establish monopoly or near monopoly power in their primary markets. They enter and gain competitive advantages in adjacent markets. As the House Judiciary Antitrust Subcommittee report found...
Blow it out your ass.
Yeah, antitrust laws belong in a shredder, folks. Big tech companies have frequently invested in emerging firms and technologies in adjacent markets. Oh, no. Integrated or bundled these products with their dominant platforms and then provided a leg up to their offerings by giving them superior access to their platforms. And I'm over here wondering, who the hell cares? So big tech companies are what? Investing in new technology? Isn't that a good thing? Especially considering that they're in competition with one another. Isn't it a good thing that they're investing in other players in the market, investing in new technology, innovating? Isn't that a good thing? It's good for consumers, good for workers, good for the economy, good for everyone as far as I'm concerned. And you can say this about a lot of different businesses. You go to McDonald's. You ever go to McDonald's, you notice they'll have fountain soda machines, usually exclusively Coca-Cola products. Whenever you go to McDonald's. Same thing with Taco Bell. If you ever go into a Taco Bell, they have exclusively Pepsi products. Now, what if I go into a McDonald's, right? I go into McDonald's. Maybe I don't like the selection of Coca-Cola brand sodas that McDonald's has to offer. Maybe I want a Mountain Dew. Maybe I want a Sierra Mist, which is only provided by Pepsi. Couldn't you, by William Barr's weaselly thinking, weaselly presentation, couldn't you argue, well, McDonald's, they're being anti-competitive, right? Because I want to go to McDonald's and I want to buy a Big Mac, maybe a Happy Meal for the kids, but, gee whiz, all I got is Coke products. Maybe I don't even want Pepsi. Maybe I want Faygo Cola. Maybe I want Royal Cola or something. Maybe I want the dollar store brand or Kroger brand or Walmart brand cola. But it's not available at McDonald's because, they have a deal with Coca-Cola. And so it's anti-competitive. Wouldn't it be nice to walk into a McDonald's, take the family to McDonald's, and just have walls and walls of fountain soda machines of all the different brands? Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, Faygo-Cola, 7-Up, A&W. Wouldn't that be nice? You could say that McDonald's is engaging in anti-competitive business practices on this sloppy-ass logic. How many times do people go out and they buy new cars, used cars, and the dealership offers some sort of subscription package to Sirius XM satellite radio? Aren't they giving an advantage to satellite radio over terrestrial radio, not to mention podcasts and just these online subscription services like Spotify and Apple Music and Pandora? Isn't that unfair? I mean, hell, the other day or a few weeks ago, I went and bought a brand new iPhone, and as part of my upgrade deal, Verizon gave me 6 months of Disney Plus. I already had a subscription to Disney Plus, but I got to apply the promo code or whatever, and I got the 6 months for free. Isn't that unfair to other streaming services like Paramount Plus and Peacock? I also got a Peacock subscription last year when I went to Universal Halloween Horror Nights. Got a 6 months Peacock. Wasn't that unfair at the time to companies like Disney Plus and Paramount Plus? What HBO Max? Isn't that anti-competitive? They're giving unfair advantages to certain services and companies. Barr continues, big tech companies can thus preempt the normal evolution of emerging markets rather than evolve into their own solar systems. Adjacent markets become mere satellites of the dominant firms. Oh, no, you guys. This not only allows tech giants to absorb new domains, but also prevents the emergence of new arrivals with technologies capable of disrupting platforms' dominance. Now, it's worth noting that this hysteria over monopolization is not exactly new, especially even in the realm of big tech. If you recall, years and years ago, all the way back in the time of February 2007, a lot of people were bent out of shape, getting hysterical about MySpace. You guys remember MySpace? You guys remember? Some of you guys might be a little too young to remember MySpace. Maybe never even got on MySpace. But once upon a time, MySpace was considered a big tech monopoly. As an aside, if you'll read this article, it mentions how Rupert Murdoch is involved with MySpace. Yeah, Rupert Murdoch and News Corp acquired MySpace just 2 years before this Guardian article was put out. News Corp acquired MySpace for $580 million. I guess they bought the company that owns MySpace, $580 million. And this was a time when Rupert Murdoch and News Corp, Clear Channel, whatever you want to call it, a lot of people were getting all worked up and bent out of shape over media consolidation during this period. Rupert Murdoch, he's buying all of these radio stations and local news networks, and he's just buying up all the media. He's monopolizing information in the media. And then he bought MySpace. Uh-oh, this guy's really taking over. MySpace. Fast forward to today, I think, what was it? Didn't News Corp end up selling its 20th Century Fox assets to Disney? MySpace, what is MySpace even worth at this point? I know it's been, there have been attempts to resurrect MySpace, bring it back. Yeah, at the time, going back to this article that William Barr put out, oh no, if we don't challenge these big scary monopolies, it will make it impossible for new rivals to emerge. People were saying similar stuff back in 2007 when MySpace was the big scary monopoly over social media. This is even a time in 2007 when Facebook was well on its way, still growing. This is when Twitter was in its infancy. Now MySpace, it's an afterthought, right? It's the blockbuster video of social media. And once upon a time, people were all scared that they were this unstoppable, big, scary monopoly. Now, in all fairness, I don't think this article really calls for any government intervention or efforts to police this monopoly like William Barr is doing, but there was still a big fear at the time. In 2007, who's going to stop MySpace? At one point it mentions, it is common knowledge that a fax machine is worthless until others have one too. That is what is happening in social networking, except that, unlike a fax machine, it cannot be instantly swapped for another. It is easy to change search engines, even if it is Google. So even this time, people didn't consider Google a big, scary monopoly. Search engines, it's easy stuff. This is right after Google bought YouTube. But if you change social networks, you not only have to move all your videos, audios, messages, photos elsewhere, but you also have to lose your network of friends unless they migrate with you. Oh man, what are the poorer people of 2007 going to do about MySpace? It's an unstoppable juggernaut. MySpace will not make that easy.
Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs!
Its massive user base will help maintain its dominance. Dominance! According to co-founder Chris D. Wolf. In social networking, there is a huge advantage to have scale. You can find almost anyone on MySpace, and the more time that has been invested in the site, the more locked in people are. Yeah, everyone was locked in, you guys. Yet another point right here. It says, John Barrett of Tech News World claims that MySpace is well on its way to becoming what economists call a natural monopoly. Users have invested so much social capital in putting data about themselves, it is not worth their changing sites, especially since every new user that MySpace attracts adds to its value as a network of interacting people. So again, all this hysteria about these big tech companies, and again, this was MySpace in the social media days. I mean, MySpace, you could say, was even a bigger monopoly than what Bill Barr is talking about these days. And companies managed to emerge and compete with them. Twitter, Facebook, I'm sure I'm missing a few. TikTok. Is TikTok considered social media? Instagram. But then again, that was bought out by Facebook. And, yeah, so this hysteria is not new. People are always getting worked up about the monopoly of the day. Who's going to stop them? We need, clearly we need government intervention to stop these behemoths.
That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, dude.
Anyway, Barr continues, the strategy is intentional. Internal deliberations at dominant companies have sometimes shown that a significant reason for investing in adjacent technologies is to throttle threats to companies' core platforms and instead turn them into improvements that can insulate the firms from competitive challenges. This is similar to the mentality of the net neutrality nerds. The latest threat big tech poses to competition concerns artificial intelligence. We do not yet know the potential of AI, positive or not. We've learned enough, however, to know that we need to scrutinize large platform companies' investments in and partnerships with startup AI ventures. Microsoft has already entered into a partnership with OpenAI that includes a multi-billion-dollar investment, collaboration in technology development, and the provision on an exclusive basis of Microsoft Cloud services to OpenAI. The potential for this collaboration with a dominant company like Microsoft has a well-established history of stifling competition in important startup technologies that otherwise would grow and potentially compete with top market firms. You guys remember when Microsoft was, I know I talk about this all the time, but it's worth reminding that Microsoft was charged with antitrust, being anti-competitive for the crime of giving away free internet browsing software because it was stifling its competitors like Netscape. Oh, who's going to stop Microsoft? I think they lost that case and then won on appeal, if I recall correctly, but what is it? What was that? 20, 25, 28 years ago or whatever? And now Microsoft Internet Explorer is dead? When's the last time anyone used Internet Explorer anymore? And is Microsoft? I mean, I'm sure they still dominate the PC world, but yeah, everyone was freaked out that Microsoft, they were dominating. I'm sure you can find articles like this one about MySpace. Who's going to stop Microsoft? Well, Apple reemerged. Now we have tablets which are competitive with personal computers, smartphones that are competitive with personal computers. Google and Amazon, although Amazon's tablets are pretty shitty, I got to be honest, but can still get one. Just a healthy reminder that all this monopoly hysteria is often overblown. Barr continues, incorporating OpenAI's capabilities into Microsoft's platform will doubtless reinforce the platform's dominance. Another concern is the possibility that AI falls into the wrong hands. Some policymakers have raised legitimate, national security issues. All right, now we got what is this? The running to the mott. You ever make a sloppy economics argument? Yeah, just bring up national security, right? If you ever want to regulate or bring the hammer down on a company, just bring up national security. It's the national security. It's national security, right? It's often a justification to do stuff like nationalize enterprises, nationalize resources, regulate resources, or whatever. National security. This is an obvious pivot, right? Because this is a totally separate issue than antitrust, to the extent that we're even going to buy into this premise that the government has a role in regulating big, scary monopolies. So what? We're worried about AI falling into the wrong hands. Let's continue before I really dive into that point. Policymakers have raised legitimate national security issues about these large platforms achieving dominant positions in AI. Each firm is subject to some leverage or pressure from communist China as a condition of operating in the country. Part of that arrangement likely includes giving Beijing and other foreign governments access to technology and code. As a Microsoft spokesperson has described it, that company has long provided governments around the world ability to inspect limited portions of our source code. Microsoft has other important ties to China's development of AI through its funding of Microsoft Research Asia, established in 1998. With such cooperation comes with the increased risk of being hacked and having one's technology ransacked. The other large platforms are subject to similar pressure and thus face an elevated risk of theft and hacking. Okay, let's, for the sake of argument, just agree that maybe this is a national security concern that the U.S. government should be thinking about and doing stuff about. Isn't this a bit of a separate issue than all this stuff about antitrust and stopping the stifling of competition and anti-competitive practices? Because just think about it on paper. Okay, so what? Maybe you break up these companies into 10 smaller competitive companies, or you stop all these mergers and acquisitions. So what? Just instead of 2 or 3 big scary monopolies sharing technology with China or being vulnerable to hacks or whatnot, now you have 10? What if all 10 competitors are competing with each other to go over to do business with China and opening themselves up to all these risks? Again, isn't this a separate issue? If this is really the concern, then just focus on national security. There's no need to rope this in with all this hysteria about big, scary monopolies. One reason big tech companies have become so powerful is that regulators have been asleep at the switch for the past 25 years and allowed them to gobble up emerging firms before they posed a competitive threat. Going back to Microsoft being a big scary monopoly, this was satirized in The Simpsons in the late 90s. Remember, I think Homer was trying to create a tech startup, and then Bill Gates showed up with his henchmen, and they smashed up his business instead of merely acquiring it. I guess, people, they were asleep at the wheel with Microsoft, right? They got their antitrust kicks and licks in the 90s, forgot about them. Maybe focused on Apple or Microsoft or Facebook or whatever, here or there, Amazon. Didn't pay much attention to Microsoft, but I guess Microsoft is back and bigger and scarier than ever. We cannot repeat these mistakes and must carefully scrutinize investments by dominant platforms on the front end so that governments are not left trying to undo the harms when it is not feasible. Fortunately, we seem to be learning from our missteps. It is encouraging that the Federal Trade Commission, again under Lena Khan, Biden-appointed Lena Khan, that wicked witch who has a raging boner to break up tech companies, the Federal Trade Commission. And yeah, it's worth noting that all this stuff about antitrust and big tech monopolies, this is a bipartisan issue. This is the cool thing in American politics these days. Both Democrats and Republicans are just frothing at the mouth, eager to shake down big tech, whether it be Democrat or Republican. It's bipartisan. Then we got the European Union and the UK Competition and Markets Authority have each initiated investigations to assess issues raised by big tech's investment in AI. The FTC in January issued orders pursuant to its powers in Section 6B of the FTC Act to Alphabet, Microsoft, Amazon, Anthropic, PBC, and OpenAI to scrutinize big tech corporate partnerships and investments with AI providers to build a better understanding of these relationships and their impact on the competitive landscape. Because, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I guess, OpenAI, they're working with Microsoft. So that takes one off the table. But again, no mention of Facebook, Apple, Twitter / Elon Musk, X, whatever the fuck he's calling it these days. It's one of the worst things Elon Musk did to Twitter was change its name to X. X gonna give it to you. Anyway. The European Commission is looking into some of the agreements that have been concluded between large digital market players and generative AI developers and providers. Specifically, whether Microsoft's investment in OpenAI might be reviewable under the EU merger regulation. In April, the UK Competition and Market Authority invited input from interested parties on investments by Microsoft and Amazon into AI. It also revealed that it had discovered an interconnected web of more than 90 partnerships. 90 partnerships. That sounds like a lot more than a monopoly. And strategic investments among the same groups of firms, which it said could be used to shield themselves from competition. These are important, forward-thinking, and balanced actions. Some of these investments may be justified, but regardless, regulators must address their potentially anti-competitive effects at the front end. And parties in relevant markets should not sit on the sidelines as these and other inquiries progress. And Mr. Barr is co-founder of whatever law. All right, that was William P. Barr, just continuing the mindless hysteria about monopolization. Anyway, we got some people in the house. Got Vagar, Colt Savage, Kerbo, hello.
Well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
Something interesting I would like to bring up is that I'm reading Democracy in America. Democracy in America. Do they mean democracy in the mob rule sense or in democracy in that, hey, of course we don't want mob rule. We just want elections for politicians or whatever. Oh, no, I see it. I see it on Amazon. I don't know if I want to buy it on Amazon though. I don't want to be feeding this big scary monopoly, Colt. I don't know what to do. And I just got some credits the other day because I bought a bunch of stuff on Amazon, and they said, hey, if you delay the shipping, we'll give you some digital credits. But now I don't know. Amazon's a big scary monopoly. I don't want to feed them.